Welcome, welcome everyone. The October 8th meeting of the Westfield Washington School Board of Trustees is now called to order. Thank you for joining us this evening. With a quorum present, please stand for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. It is now time for one of the most anticipated parts of our school board meeting, Student of the Month. Before we start, I'd like to mention this evening we have David Dixon will be taking professional photographs of each student as they accept their awards in front of the room. Following the reception of all students, we will have a short intermission. Students of the month and their families are welcome to join us in the lobby with freshmen for the break. Mr. Dixon is also going to be present in the lobby to capture more photos of the students with their parents and school representatives. So now we will start with the Virginia F. Wood Early Learning Center.
Good evening. I'm Marcy Dorado, the director of the Early Learning Center, and I am proud to announce Riva to you tonight. Riva is in an all-aboard classroom with Mrs. Petrush, and we have some really great things to say about her. Whenever I am in her classroom, she is focused, friendly, and well-behaved. I would like to introduce her teacher, Betsy Petrush, to say a lot more wonderful things about her.
Thank you. Riva comes into the classroom each day with a huge smile on her face. She is ready to learn when she walks in the door. Riva is always respectful of her teachers and a great friend to all. She works hard in class and tries her best on anything being done at school. Riva regularly performs above a pre-K level, always helps with classroom jobs, and always looks out for others. We are so happy to have her as a part of our class.
Riva is such a joy. Would you please join me in saying congratulations?
Next, we have Monon Trail.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeremy Marvel. I'm the principal at Monon Trail Elementary School, and I have Addie Evans with me, a first grader in Mrs. Lewis's classroom, and she is our Student of the Month. I couldn't pick a more just student that exemplifies what we're looking for at Monon Trail as our Student of the Month. When Mrs. Lewis was sharing why she feels that Addie should be it, I was like, yep, that's her. And since kindergarten, Addie and I have been in the same color family. That's cross-curricular grade level with every single adult being in all 12 different families across our building. And we meet twice a month and do some activities. Mr. Hall started that many, many years ago at Monon Trail, and we still continue it. So Addie was in my color family. So seeing her a couple times a week just to get to hang out, I always sought her out when I was in her class in kindergarten just to say hi to her. And she's just an amazing student that Mrs. Lewis will share a little bit more about.
Yeah. So at Monon, we were focusing on the skill of being open-minded this month, and that's why I nominated her. I definitely thought of her. Addie demonstrates being open-minded in the classroom and school daily. She has so much empathy for others and is always willing to listen and consider new or different ideas. She is flexible when things do not go as planned or the way she expects. She treats everyone in the classroom fairly, and she's willing to learn and work with anyone. Her open-mindedness adds to our classroom environment in such a positive way each day. She brightens everyone's day. So thanks for being amazing, Addie.
Could you help us celebrate Addie Evans?
Next, we have Oak Trace.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jane Hitch. I'm the proud principal at Oak Trace Elementary, and I am delighted to introduce you to our friend Owen Nelms. And this is Mrs. Ewin, his third grade teacher. When I made the announcement that Owen was our student of the month, there was a lot of rejoicing. Just so many people just really love you and appreciate everything that is Owen Nelms. And so let me tell you a few words from some people that you might know. Remember Mrs. Corbin way back in kindergarten? She said that he's always been a sweet and kind boy and loves school and always has a smile on his face. Show us that smile. All right, there it is. He's been a leader since kindergarten. Mrs. Coley retired, but she still has great things to say about you. She said you are caring and have a heart of gold, and you are sensitive to the feelings of others. Mrs. Eggert, who he had for second grade, shared that he is deserving of this award. He has a positive attitude and is kind to his classmates. He walks into school with that big smile, there it is again, and it was on his face, and he's ready to learn. She could always count on you to volunteer, answer a question, or work with a partner, or help somebody else that didn't have a partner. You are the definition of a kind friend. How about that? That's pretty impressive. And Mrs. Braun, who was also your second grade teacher, we had a maternity leave last year, said you were one of the hardest workers she's had the pleasure to teach. And he perseveres, and try your best. And this year, Mrs. Ewin has to say that you are truly a model Westfield student. School, you wouldn't know how hard he works from all the smiles on his faces. He has an attitude and perseverance and work ethic that make you a leader in the classroom. She can always count on him to be a good friend to everybody, to listen carefully, and give 100% of your effort to everything you do. We're lucky to have you at Oak Trace. That's a lot to live up to. You think you can keep that up? I know he can. He's a great one. Give a round of applause to Owen Nelms. Thanks, Owen.
Next is Shamrock Springs.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rob Hedges, principal of Shamrock Springs Elementary School, and we've got Reagan Wilson here, and we said, boy, Reagan, all you have to do this evening is just stand up here and smile. She's got a smile that just lights up the world, just internally and externally. It's just a beautiful, beautiful girl. Mrs. Hollis, her third grade teacher, has a few words she'd like to share about you.
Well, it's been my pleasure to have Reagan as a part of our class family this year. Reagan has so many great qualities. She is kind, respectful, caring, and treats everyone right. Reagan was voted by her classmates to be our classroom representative for the Lifeline of Respect. Here are a few things that Reagan's classmates wrote about her. I'm Reagan's reading partner. When it is my turn to read, Reagan shows her full attention and focus to me. Another student said, Reagan is respectful when we have a guest teacher. And another student said, she is so caring. Once she saw another student fall, and she went out of her way to make sure that the student was okay. Reagan is also looking out for her brother at school. She has twice noticed her brother's missing jacket in the Lost and Found and made sure to get it back to him. I'm sure her mom appreciates that as well. But my favorite thing about Reagan is her great attitude. She is always ready to work hard and tries her best. And I'm so happy to get to be Reagan's teacher this year.
And Reagan, we're not finished yet. Your mom and dad have a few words they'd like to share as well. And here they are. Reagan is an absolute joy to have as a daughter. She is kind, sweet, caring, and empathetic. She's a wonderful example for her two younger brothers who look up to her and adore her. She has an incredible heart for others and is beautiful inside and out. Our family has been through a lot in the last 2 years, and Reagan has handled everything with strength, resilience, and a smile. We couldn't be more proud of who she is and who she is growing up to be. Couldn't say it any better. So let's hear it for Reagan.
All right. Next is Washington Woods.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Zach, and I'm the proud principal of Washington Woods. Today, I want to introduce you to one of our favorite people, Rabroop Rator. Am I saying that right? Rator. Okay, so sorry. We call Rabroop just simply Roop. And we are also a Leader in Me school, and each month we recognize a student for displaying one of the 7 habits of happy kids. This month we are recognizing Roop for modeling habit number 1, being proactive. Being proactive is about taking responsibility for your life and choosing your actions and attitudes and moods. Proactive people don't blame others for their behavior. They focus on the areas of their life that are within their circle of control. They also know what they want to achieve and work hard to reach their goals. Mrs. Anderson is here today, and this is Roop's 4th grade teacher, and she has some words for you.
Hello. I nominated Roop to be our Student of the Month because she is a wonderful leader in our classroom. Every day she enters with a smile on her face and a positive attitude, and it is contagious to those around her. She takes pride in her leadership role each morning, stepping up to help her peers without needing any reminders. Her ability to lead with kindness and integrity makes her a natural leader and an exceptional role model for her classmates. Thank you, Roop.
And I wanted to share that I absolutely love having Roop at Washington Woods. She is a shining light at all times. She always has a smile on her face, a positive attitude, and kind words to share. She serves as a quiet leader, holding a number of leadership positions within Washington Woods. In 1st grade, she was a trailblazer. In 2nd and 3rd grade, Roop served on our student lighthouse team. And this year, she will be representing Woods on the Spell Bowl team. Roop also has been a morning greeter and a library assistant. She has grown so much in such a short amount of time, and I look forward to seeing her success and her bright future ahead. Roop, your parents wanted to share. Your achievements have filled our hearts with pride and joy. We are thankful for her WWES teacher who believes in her. We believe she makes us and the school very proud. Thank you so much for this honor. Roop, we all want to say congratulations to you and thank you for being proactive.
Next, we have Carrie Ridge.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Tiffany Buzan, and I am the assistant principal at Cary Ridge Elementary. And I am here with Mrs. Perry, one of our 1st grade teachers, to introduce you to our student of the month, Miss Bella Benz. We are very proud of Bella, and to start out, Mrs. Perry is just going to say a few words.
Well, I want to say that I am so lucky to have Bella in my 1st grade class this year. She's an amazing friend to all and very empathetic towards others and works hard at everything she does. So our lifeline this month was empathy, and she was the #1 in my mind. She just is always caring about everyone and making sure that everyone is okay, which is awesome. And I just wanted to congratulate her.
one word that came up when Mr. Hilton and Mrs. McKinney and I were talking about our Student of the Month, and when we talked about Bella, was joy. So whenever we see Bella in the hallway, she radiates joy. She always has a smile on her face, and when we talked about empathy, one of the things that came up was that Bella was always willing to help a friend at recess, to help a friend in the classroom. Another thing that Mrs. Markeline wanted us to share is that Miss Benz is a very hard worker. Even if it's hard, she is determined and she always tries her best. So for lots of different reasons, Bella Benz is our Student of the Month, and we are very proud of her.
Next is Maple Glen.
Good evening. I am Mary Beth Fisher, the principal at Maple Glen, and I'm here with Cruz Petroff. And sometimes we get a smile out of him, right? Yeah, there we go. And his reading teacher, Mrs. Weta, is here. But what I really want to share about Cruz is that he has a huge fan club here that you may not know. So first and foremost are some amazing teachers. So we shared in the newsletter that Cruz was our Student of the Month, and he has 6 other staff members that came to celebrate him tonight, along with Mrs. Weta and myself. And we have to give a special shout out to your parents, because your parents have been amazing supporters of you all along. And I remember conversations back in kindergarten and preschool with your mom and dad when they were your biggest advocates, and they have been your biggest champions forever and ever. And we are just so proud of you and glad that you are here today. So Cruz was nominated by Mrs. Weta, his reading teacher, for exhibiting one of the 4 pillars. So at Maple Glen, we celebrate Leaf Leaders, and the L in Leaf Leader stands for lifelong learner, and he has certainly exhibited so many qualities of that over the last 5 years at Maple Glen. So I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Weta to share a few of those details.
Cruz has demonstrated exceptional resilience and perseverance when faced with adversity. I have been given the opportunity to work with him over multiple years and have been blown away by his work ethic and determination. He continues to gain new skills and knowledge and apply them in our group work and within his classroom every day. He's an incredible person and student who I've grown to admire and been inspired by. He has motivated me to be a better educator and person. He should be acknowledged for all of his hard work during his time at Maple Glen. He continues to crush personal goals and is just getting started. Go Cruz.
Hi, my name is Jessica Aldrich. I'm one of the assistant principals at Westfield Intermediate School. I'm here to introduce Landon, who's our Student of the Month. He is a leader inside and outside of the classroom. I have talked with him on a couple of occasions in the hallway. He's always smiling and having fun, but also doing the right thing. And out of 1,600 kids, his name rose to the top, which is a pretty awesome feat in our building. Our 2 teachers here are Mrs. Langston and Mrs. Ragarenu, and they're going to talk a little bit more about Landon.
Hi guys. So Landon is an exceptional 5th grade student who consistently brightens the classroom with his positive attitude and willingness to help others. He comes to school each day with a smile on his face, creating a welcoming atmosphere for both his peers and us here as teachers. Landon is kind, respectful, and always willing to lend a hand, whether that is assisting classmates or stepping up to help Mrs. Langston take some books to the dumpster. His dependable nature and strong sense of responsibility make him a true role model for his peers, embodying the values of kindness and teamwork.
And when I was asking Landon, like, what is just something that has really resonated with you that you would like for us to say? He said, for me and Mrs. Recreanu to say, go Westfield Travel. Yeah, my football people, go Westfield Travel. Right, Landon? That's it. I know they're doing good things out there. Thanks, buddy.
All right. Next, we have Westfield Middle School.
Hello, good evening. I'm Stacy Swan, principal at the middle school, and I'm here to recognize Delaney McCone, who is our student of the month. And when I got the nominations from the teachers, kind of who to pick for this month, I saw Delaney's name on the list, and I was very excited to bring her tonight to introduce you to her, because I remember seeing her first as a 7th grader as she'd roll in through the car rider line carrying the biggest softball bag you have ever seen, wearing the coolest sunglasses I only wish I could pull off. And she is a shining example for many reasons. So I'm going to let her social studies teacher, Mrs. Schwingendorf, talk first, and then I'll say a few other things about Delaney.
Okay, Delaney, you are a wonderful blend of all of the characteristics that lead to success in learning. You are curious, motivated, intentional, and put effort into all the things that you do. You have a keen sense of humor and are always willing to participate in class. You consistently choose a kind attitude and can be counted on to help after you complete your work. In fact, this week, she helped me take things off of a bulletin board, and I'm super particular about that. I've never seen such careful work in my life. She's better than me. She's a fantastic student and person, which is great because it cancels out the fact that she is a devout Cubs fan. But we'll work on that. It's only the second quarter of 8th grade.
I am also a Cubs fan, Delaney, so we can work on that together with Mr. Swingendorf, so we can help her. We can help her. So some of the other comments from our teachers include Delaney embodies the skills of time management and organization, our life-ready skills for the month of September. Her understanding of complex scientific concepts and her willingness to lead collaborative groups make her a big asset in the classroom. Even though Delaney had to miss a few days of school, she was proactive in getting her assignments done and communicating with teachers. Again, she is such a good example to her fellow students for time management and organization. Mrs. Brown, her algebra teacher, says, Delaney consistently demonstrates kindness and respect in her interactions with peers and teachers. She maintains a positive attitude and serves as an excellent role model for her classmates. Her strong work ethic and evidence of high-quality math work she produces and an effective time management skills further her success. It is a pleasure to have her in class. And finally, Mrs. Donathan, your wellness teacher, says, Delaney is extremely hardworking and always responsible. She is kind to all others and always willing to help. She is motivated to do her best in everything she does. She is also an exceptional athlete and isn't afraid of a challenge. And I would second all of the teachers' comments. Delaney is smart, she's kind, and she's tough as nails. And although, life has thrown her curveballs, forgive the softball analogy, she has battled her way through those, and you would never know it. And we're just so proud to have her as a Westfield Shamrock at the middle school. Congratulations, Delaney.
Next, we have Westfield High School.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Deniston. I'm principal at Westfield High School, and it is my privilege and honor to present to you tonight Addison Short. And she is the WHS October Student of the Month. And I'm going to read a couple of the things that staff said, but I want you to know that you received multiple nominations. And the first one came from our assistant principal, Denver Wade. And if you know Denver Wade, he's very enthusiastic about his endorsements, but he just said that this young lady has the most amazing work ethic he's ever seen, and he has loved watching you flourish, take on rigorous challenges. He loves the word rigor as well, and just has seen your leadership. When I've gotten to know Addie just a little bit here, and then gotten to admire just some of the work that she's been doing, one thing that stands out is she is the epitome of servant leadership. And servant leadership is really that highest place. When we talk about the Westfield Way, when we talk about what we want our students to exhibit and display in terms of being life ready, really, servant leadership is the ultimate, and this girl really exhibits that. So I'm going to share a few things that teachers have said. The first teacher that I'm going to share with you, Addie, is from Mrs. Geip. And Mrs. Geip is a PE health teacher who also works with Unified Sports, because Addie's been very involved as a peer tutor and with Best Buddies and working in that area. But Mrs. Geip says, Addie is an amazing young lady who has a special gift in being able to connect and care for others. She truly wants to see others succeed and works to support them in their pursuits. She is a great example to her peers on how to live a selfless life to support others as they need. And there's that servant leadership coming through. And then your school counselor, Mrs. Vondersar, says, Addie is by far the biggest self-advocate I have on my caseload. And she has a lot of students on her caseload, by the way. She is not only extremely determined and self-aware, she is also kind, hilarious, and a loyal friend. She cares for quite a few of our staff members' children, including mine. And I know there is relief that comes knowing Addie is the one caring for their child. And so I have also received so much positive feedback from teachers at the Early Learning Center, director at the Early Learning Center, and people that have worked with you there. And I am really excited. This girl has her sights right now on Marion. We'll see. She'll make a final decision, but she wants to go into either special education or elementary education. And I'm telling you, her future classrooms, those future kids that she's going to serve, she is a gift to them. So I'm so excited for that. I'm so proud of you. I'm excited that we have a little longer with you at the high school, but want to say congratulations. And I also wanted to present you, there's a little note in there, but one of my favorite books, You Don't Need a Title to Be a Leader. And I know you like to lead a little bit in the background sometimes, but that you're also just an inspirational leader. So congratulations, Addie. We're proud of you.
All right. Congratulations to all of our October Students of the Month. Students and their families are now invited to the lobby for refreshments and photographs. We'll resume the business portion of the meeting in 20 minutes, which would be 7:20. Thank you. All right, welcome back, everyone. At this time, we do not have any comment cards, so we will proceed to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is the approval of, or the consent items include board minutes, accounts payable vouchers, payroll vouchers, and personnel report. All items in the consent agenda have been reviewed by the board in advance of the meeting and are approved in a single motion. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jimmy. Motion passes. Next, we have the business and operations section of the meeting. This month, we look forward to hearing from our construction partners taking place throughout the district. Tonight, we are pleased to welcome Chris from Core Construction to provide an update on several projects that they are working on. Welcome, Chris.
Hot goal right now to get that completed and waterproofed. Reason being for that is we need to get the veneer inside that courtyard so that come spring, we're able to get the playground going and all of that. So we needed to get that interior courtyard work done this fall before the weather breaks and get that veneer done. So it's great to see the mason's gonna start next week putting brick on the inside of that building. Wall framing progress is ongoing. They're over actually in the C area right now. I did put a little snippet of the plan there so you guys can reference what I'm talking, A1 and B1 and C. C is your existing kind of office area, and we're just putting a little addition on the corner of it. So they're framing in area C right now. The roofers are going to start in about a week and a half to get that dried in, and then the framers are going to jump into area A1 and continue with all the framing throughout that. The drilling of the geothermal wells is going great. It's a long, arduous process. It takes forever. I did want to put in there that there's 64 wells, and they're going 315 feet down for each individual well. They're able to get about 2 done a day. So it's a long process. The softball fields are looking great. They're just doing some final grading on those right now. We have turf coming in next week to start getting turf set, and then really the last thing that needs to happen there is we get the perimeter fencing in, and those fields are really done and ready to go. The baseball field, they're putting stone in right now. All the drainage is in. The dugout pads are poured, and the mason's going to start working on those dugout pads here in the next 2 weeks. And then turf is scheduled for November 11th to put turf on the baseball field. So really the goal is that we're going to work the turf guys until we literally can't anymore and try to get as much field work done as we can so that there's minimal next spring to finish up. They might be able to get to some of the first rugby field this fall yet, but it's looking like the 2 rugby fields will be first thing in the spring. We hit them strong and get that turf down so that you can use them as quickly as we can when the weather breaks. They are working on perimeter drains in the rugby fields. The above ceiling rough-in is going on in area A1 and in C, so that's your ductwork, your piping, all that stuff is going in. As I stated, the roofer is going to start in area C, then move to A and B. And then the west and south parking lots, we're targeting to get curbs and asphalt down this fall yet. There's a big storm detention system under the far west parking lot that we got in. They're starting to stone that and get that compacted so that we can get asphalt down, that we got better access and better lay down. And then this south parking lot here too, we're gonna cut that in and try to get curbs and asphalt down this fall yet too. So
Chris,
moving on to some photos.
Chris, real quick, do you think you'll be able to get on the rugby, do you think you'll have the stone down yet this fall?
The furthest west one, they're gonna push to get the stone down.
Okay.
But I don't know if they'll get the one closest
Because if
to
they
the
get the
building.
stone down, they should be able to do the turf throughout the winter.
Yeah, yep.
So.
Yep. So here's just a cool overview shot that we took with our drone showing the baseball field, the 2 softball fields, kind of where rugby's going to sit. You can see that big yellow line in the earth there. That's the underground drainage that we did. And you can see the additions there on the far right side really starting to take shape there. So this is just a picture of the courtyard here. You can see all the walls up, the sheeting up. They started waterproofing it today. They poured the area B1 slab yesterday, so all the concrete is poured for all the additions, so we're done with the slab work there. You can see here in area C, they're just running some hydronic piping. The framers were in there today. You can see the picture on the right there. They're starting to spread out their material yesterday, but all those walls are now framed. They're just working on some interior stuff and layout before they can move on to the next section. There's the softball fields. You can see the curbs and the fence posts in. And then the underground storm retention system, as I stated, they're starting to put stone down. When I was here earlier today, they were about 75% of the way with having that thing stoned out. So hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow, they're all the way stoned out and we can start getting that thing to final grade and proof rolled and start working on curbs. That's all I got. Any questions?
That's a lot. Thank you for the update. Anyone have questions? Anyone? Dr. Kreiser had the only one.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Next, for the business and operation portion of the meeting, we'll turn it to Brian Tomomichael for the next agenda item, budget resolutions.
Thank you. So we had our budget hearing at our last board meeting, and then tonight is the budget adoption process. Part of the budget adoption process is multiple resolutions to officially approve the budget and then approve kind of some ancillary items that go with it. So as it is listed with resolutions, the right number, resolutions 2024-29 through 2024-36. I'll just walk through all of them briefly. Happy to answer any questions, but can approve them all at once if acceptable by the board. So first budget resolution is the 2025 bus replacement plan. We talked about the bus replacement plan during the budget hearing process. This just lists out all the buses that we plan to replace over the next 5 years. This is a fluid document, really, once you go beyond this next year, and we'll continue to evaluate our buses each year. Next resolution is 2025 capital projects plan, which was also listed in the budget hearing that we went through. List out the capital acquisition and capital projects that will be paid out of the capital projects fund this next year. In their budget resolution 2024-29 is 1782 reduction resolution. Again, as we advertise our budget high, this resolution gives us permission when we get our budget back, if there's any tweaks we need to make at the very last minute before the state finalizes our budget and we sign off on everything, that gives myself the permission to reduce where needed. Resolution 2024-30 is the transfer of education operations fund. As we talked about during the budget hearing process, the state changed law a few years ago when it went to from the general fund to the education fund. And with that, we can transfer up to 15% of our education fund dollars into our new operations fund. As a district, we have only ever transferred 7%, and that is what we are asking for again this year. Resolution 2024-31 is our routine transfer resolution. As we go through the year, there are times where we need to make resolution or transfers between funds or between accounts. This resolution gives us authority to do that throughout the year, If anything is going to be a permanent transfer, then we would still have to bring it to the board, such as a transfer to rainy day. But transfers that are just more so for cash flow purposes would not require an additional board approval beyond that. Resolution 2024-32 is approval of the 2025 Budget Form 4. So this is really our budget as presented, which is a $185 million budget or a $1.33 tax rate. As a reminder, we always advertise high and expect that to come in lower. We expect to be closer to $1.27, but we always advertise high. Resolution 2024-33 is the Operations Fund Levy Appeal. So this one we did not get into as much during the budget hearing, but it was in all of our numbers. So as we talked about in the restrictions on our operations fund and being capped at 4% this year, one of the few means we have to try to increase that number is to do a transportation operations appeal. So really it's looking, when we look at the fact that we've grown 422 students this year, and over the last 4 years we've grown over 1,600 students, we're allowed to fill out a sheet, then we can show how much our cost has increased beyond the 4% growth, and then we can request those additional funds to be added to our budget. We're making a $1 million request. I will be completely honest. The likelihood that we get all $1 million is very, very low, but we will do our best to explain our case and see how much we can get as we go through that process. But this is really one of the few ways we have to make an appeal to what is otherwise the standard just 4% growth rate. And then again, that $1 million levy excess was listed on our Form 3, which is the advertisement for the budget hearing and all those pieces. So it was in all the numbers we talked about the other day. Resolution 35 and 34, again, are just the bus replacement plan resolutions for the approval of those two items. And then Resolution 2024-36 is our operating revenue spending plan. So it outlines basically what was in the budget hearing, but we are required to have an official spending plan approved by the board every year that matches the dollars expected to be received through our operating referendum. So those are all the resolution items that have to be approved in order to approve the budget. Since the budget hearing, I had 0 questions come in or any comments from anybody on the board or community at all. So, if you have any further questions, happy to answer. But those would be all the items needed to approve the 2025 budget.
Okay, thank you, Brian. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2024-29 through Resolution 2024-36 as presented.
So moved.
Thanks, Rebecca. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. It has been moved and seconded. Is there any questions or discussion at this time?
I do want to say thank you. I know this doesn't happen by accident. This is kind of a heavy lift, and it's a lot of work and takes a lot of attention, a lot of time. So thank you for making this pretty darn smooth for us and patiently explaining how all this works repeatedly. So thank you, and great job.
For sure. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thanks, Jimmy. All opposed, say no. Motion passes. The next item on the business operations is the WWS-City of Westfield School Resource Officer MOU, which Brian Tom Michael will also present.
So these next two items on the agenda, I'm just going to go ahead and thank Mr. Hall out in the audience. He's put in, honestly, most of the work for these items. I'm just the one that's presenting them tonight. So with the city, we've been working with the city for our SROs for several years now, but just really with the change in leadership at the city and then just really updating paperwork on our end, we just felt like it was appropriate to renew our SRO MOU. The one change is currently we pay exactly the cost of the officer. Moving forward, it is just a flat $100,000 per officer that we will pay. We currently have 6 officers. The city pays for half. We pay for the other half. So we will be paying for 3 of those officers, or $300,000. Long-term goal is to, eventually get an officer in every building, but kind of the more short-term is to add a 7th officer, hopefully in the next year or so. So we do expect that cost to go up to $400,000, hopefully in the next year. If you remember when we redid kind of our crossing guard ordinance, part of that reasoning was so that we could reallocate more dollars to the SRO program long-term as well. So we will be having an executive session later this month to kind of talk about school safety and get into more details. So we would just ask that the board approve the MOU with our SROs in this WPD.
Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the WWS City of Westfield School Resource Officer MOU as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Bill. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. It's been moved and seconded to approve the WWS City of Westfield School Resource Officer MOU. Is there any discussion or any questions?
Is this going to be a floating SOR, or will he be?
So we have a few permanent at high school, middle, and intermediate school, and then we have floating across the elementaries.
Okay, so this one is just going to be in addition to
So-
floating?
Probably going to be the new middles.
So tonight really is just approving what is in place today and approving that MOU. When we add a seventh later on down the road, I believe short-term is to split the elementaries, and that way each SRO has an elementary on each side. And then as we continue to expand, we will continue to need to expand our SRO program as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jimmy has I can barely hear him, but.
Is that better? Thank you, Rebecca. Does this include the substation plan that is also part of the safety plan? Like, does that just apply to our SROs, or can any police officer use our building as a substation?
Yeah, so Jimmy asked if this includes the substation plan, and does that apply to just our SROs or any officer? So all of our buildings can serve as substations for any WDPD officer. They are allowed to stop in. We have a spot that they can sit down and fill out paperwork at any time and be considered a substation. So that, Jimmy, still applies to all of our buildings and for any WPD officer that wants to stop in our building.
Okay. We will now vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Up next is the Facility Rental Administrative Guidelines, and once again, Brian Talmichael.
So once again, a big thanks to Mr. Hall. He's put in a lot of work on this, kind of with this change when he came in Director of Operations. Our facility rental, quite frankly, is kind of a living, breathing document that's always slightly evolving as we continue to add space, and it will continue to evolve as we look at bringing on Shamrock Station and some of those other buildings in the future. But I would say probably the biggest piece of the change to our facility rental fee this time is really a better definition around what is our group ones, which are our school-based groups, groups two, which are really our not-for-profit community groups, and then our other community groups, and then kind of group three, which is then our full-blown private company that will have to pay full rental. So Mike's done a great job of working with our different not-for-profit groups, especially our athletic groups, WYSI, and those programs around the district to review the document, review our cost. When we look at the cost in this document, I will tell you, we are not really making money. We are covering our cost. And there were certainly things in place beforehand to where it costs money just to keep the lights on in the building, but we were not charging anything. It costs money to have a custodian to come in on weekends, but we were not adequately covering our cost or charging that all the time. So we are not looking at this for majority of our groups to make money off of them, but merely just ensure that we are covering the operation costs of the district to be open and to be that community space that we want to be. So Mike's done a lot of good work of making sure that the groups know that this transition's happening. And while this is technically an administrative guideline and typically would not require board approval, we just feel like it is a big enough document and a big enough piece of what we do that we wanted to have the board approve this as we move forward.
Okay, thank you, Mike and Brian. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the administrative guidelines for facility rental as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to approve the administrative guidelines for facility rental. Is there any discussion or any questions at this time?
When do we plan on starting implementation on this?
So Mike and I were talking about the other day, I believe we're going to probably be looking at a January 1 start date, just so it's kind of a clean cut as we move forward. We have a few people that will probably be grandfathering in because they've already booked their event, and we do not want to change what they've already signed on to, but anything new beyond that date would be taking effect. And then I will tell you for like WISI and some of their programs, we have already communicated this well ahead of time that they know as they start charging. There are some fees when there's a $15 per kid fee to use our gym space opposed to some of the other fees. So they know that as they go into their seasons as well to make sure that they're covering their costs as well.
Perfect.
Oh, I got one question. So it looked like there was a slight differentiation between WISI and WYSA. Why is that?
Yeah, so when we look at those different groupings, WYSA has athletes that do not live in Westfield.
Ah.
So that was the differentiator.
Okay.
Your entire team is a Westfield team.
That makes
it moves
sense.
all into the other category.
Okay, cool,
Yeah,
thank you.
The borders are open compared to the other local.
I didn't know that. Cool, thank you.
I did not either.
Well, I think it's difference between rec and travel.
Okay.
Yeah, the rec is local, the travel is.
highlights just, I appreciate you going into that kind of detail and spending time with each of those groups to learn those nuances and come up with a really fair agreement. So thanks for all that.
All right, we want,
I had a quick question when folks are done.
okay, we're ready for you.
Mike, if you can hear me, I just wanted to say, great job. I mean, the document that you shared is very thorough and specific, and so I really appreciated looking at that. I think it's the fourth category where it's like business groups or, non-youth related groups. I was just curious from a capacity standpoint, how significant is that piece of our rentals? Are there a lot of those groups?
Jimmy, he's walking up to the mic for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thanks for the question. The question, it sounded like, Jimmy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just what is the capacity of that last group, which would be the non-for-profit group that actually pays the full rental fees? Is that your question? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so really, it is not a huge impact on our building or different buildings. Traditionally, that has been churches on Sundays that rent our spaces. There is occasionally a for-profit group that will come in and want to rent one of our spaces. We've had Abbott, the technology company up on 31, rent some of our facility spaces for like a community day with their employees and those types of things. But it is very limited. I would say of the hundreds of events that we book a week through facilities, it is dominated by Group 1, obviously, which is our own school, and then it's the first group that you see in the nonprofit, which is youth sports. Very, very limited outside resources, or outside agencies, I guess, or companies coming to use our resources.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, awesome.
All right, thank you, Mike. We will now vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Brian, we will now turn it back to you for the Riverview Services contract.
Yep. Would you mind if I do the next two together, because they kind of go together?
Stadium
And
sponsor.
then you will also be presenting the Riverview Stadium sponsorship agreement at the same time.
So the first item was originally presented back in April when we went through our health insurance clinic committee group RFP. We had several different hospital partners come in, and through that committee work and the RFP, we decided to stay and move forward with Riverview Health Services for our nursing, behavioral, or athletic training, our clinic support as we went through it. So that was originally brought in April and approved by the board, and we then kind of been working on the legal back end of that for the last several months. And then kind of the second item then is, what was conjunction with that is that used to be one solid agreement that was everything under one umbrella, the sponsorship, the agreement to be with Riverview, everything, and we wanted to at least have separate conversations on those pieces this year. So we did the RFP first, and then also the naming rights to our stadium was up at the same time. So once that was established and we had a decision that was made, what was the best decision under kind of that clinic provider side of pieces and nursing provider pieces, we then went and explored our options with the sponsorship of the stadium as well. Riverview did have first right refusal of that underneath our old agreement. And honestly, we've been extremely happy with what we've had with them and the relationship we've had across the board as well. So we are excited that Riverview is wanting to maintain that sponsorship for the next 10 years at the total of $1.2 million, the same that it has been for the prior 10 years. So it is $10,000 a month sponsorship for the naming rights for the stadium. The one change that does align the two documents that we made since we came in April is when we came in April and discussed kind of the clinic and nursing side, it was going to be a 5-year contract with a 3-year roll. However, with the sponsorship side being at 10 years, Riverview asked if we could have a 5-year roll on that clinic side, just so both of those contracts, if rolled, align to the same time frame, which we were agreeable upon. So our clinic contract will be an initial 5-year term and then a 5-year roll at the end of that first 5 years. And then the sponsorship is a full 10-year contract up front. The only real change I would say that is noticeable on the sponsorship contract is we are up for a renewal of the turf on the football field this year. And when we go through that, there will be probably 2 Riverview logos that go not on the playing field, but on the outside, just outside the coaches' boxes on the corner of the turf. So they will not be in the playing field. They will not be in the end zone. They will also not be necessarily where the kids are standing on top of either. But that is still to be determined. We will work through that as an athletic team, as an admin team, as a Riverview team to make sure that all parties are okay with where those are and how they look and to not pull from what the field itself looks like. Other than that, the contract's pretty much the same. They do have exclusive rights to the name. They have exclusive rights to be the only healthcare provider sponsor that we have on the stadium as well, and all those were in our original contract as well. So any new signage that goes up on the stadium will be paid for by Riverview in this process or in future constructions on that site, and then maintained by the district, which is also the same that we have on all of our other sponsorship agreements as well. So happy to answer any questions, but we would ask that you approve both the health service contract and then the stadium sponsorship contract.
Okay, thank you, Brian. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve the contract with Riverview Health as presented, as well as approve the Riverview Stadium sponsorship agreement as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thanks, Mike.
Rebecca.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract with Riverview Health and to approve the Riverview Stadium sponsorship agreement. Is there any questions or discussion at this time?
Again, thank you for, I know the RFP for the health services. That was great to see, and I know it takes a lot of time to do all that, so thank you again for all your time on that.
All right. Jimmy, did you have a question?
Yeah, Brian, the sponsorship money for Riverview, what budget, what line item does that go into?
Yeah, so all of our sponsor funds from the stadium, so not just Riverview, but also, like CarX at the Entryway or McGavick or any of those all go into a separate sponsorship fund that sits completely separate. And what we utilize those funds for is, as a district, we have not paid for any athletic improvements to really the high school or the middle school for several years because they've been paid through by sponsorship dollars. Also, as we look to redo that turf in these coming years, the district will probably pay for about a third. The sponsorship will cover about a third. And then athletic dollars that are sitting in the building athletic funds will pay for about a third. So they really help maintain the level of athletics that we have in the district with, I will call it, minimal support from the district.
Okay.
That's awesome, thank you.
Excellent. I also look forward to the logo on the center of the field getting updated at the same time. And
Not on the center.
no. Okay, so now we'll vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks, Jimmy. All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Next, we'll turn it back to Brian for the Shamrock Station mechanical bid.
Yep, so we did our Shamrock Station bids at our last board meeting, but we told you at that time that we were going to be rebidding our mechanical and plumbing package as it came in higher than expected and quite frankly did not look like the adequate work went into it that was needed. So through the rebid process, we originally had budgeted $2.2 million for the MEP section, and it came in at roughly $1.75 million, so actually about a $500,000 savings where we budgeted. So we are working with that group. Myron Agim is as well as our construction manager on that project. So we would really just ask that the board approve the bid recommendation as noted, and then it will also be noted in our guaranteed maximum price documentation with Myron Agim as we finalize those contracts as well.
Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Shamrock Station mechanical bid as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve Shamrock Station mechanical bid. Is there any discussion or any questions? All right, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Thanks, Jimmy. Motion passes. Up next is the 2024-2025 liability insurance renewal. Once again, Brian Tomichael.
So liability insurance this year, so our liability insurance renews every year on October 1st, so technically it has already renewed, but we want to make sure we bring it to the board for approval. So the full board knows, as a finance committee, we do bring in our insurance rep the last 2 years now to just really walk through the insurance marketplace, the renewal process, and just kind of explain where the increases come from. So I would also lean on Bill and Rebecca if they have any comments when we're done here. So with that, we have been with Liberty Mutual for several years. Liberty Mutual covers majority of schools across the state. And as you look across the state, and you've seen a lot of hailstorm and wind damage and tornado damage the last several years, you've also seen school insurance costs go through the roof the last several years. You compound that with the fact that, as we talked about during the budget hearing, as a district, we have grown almost 5% kids a year over year the last several years, and also just our building square footage growth as well. Our insurance rates on their own are just going to grow as we as a district continue to grow. So with kind of all those things combined, Liberty Mutual came forward this year with a 26% increase to our insurance. So with the help of Assured Partners as our insurance rep, we did a full bid out of our insurance and are recommending making a change to affiliate FM and Church Mutual, which will come down to only a 9% increase as we go through that. And when you look at how much we are growing as a district, honestly, a 9% increase should be fairly expected for us as we move forward, just because of our size and our growth that we are seeing every year in staffing and students and just square footage. So happy to answer any questions, but for us, we would be looking to make that change, again, from Liberty Mutual to affiliate FM and Church Mutual. Also, while affiliate FM is new to Westfield, they have been covering Noblesville for the last several years as well, so they are not new to schools. Happy to answer any questions.
How's Noblesville?
They've been happy, and actually we have the same representative, like Assured Partners represents all of the, really most of the major large districts in the central Indiana. So they also, our broker has worked with affiliate FM as well before, and they represent Noblesville as well. We had no complaints from them on that change.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to accept the 2024-2025 liability insurance renewal as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the 2024-2025 liability insurance renewal. Are there any other questions?
Well, I'll just say thanks again. I know that it's a pain to rebid these things, but obviously we avoided a 26% increase. You know, it's not welcome to have a 9% increase, but compared to the potential 26%, that's a good thing. And I think it is difficult for schools to sometimes rebid these things and they just go with the increase they're given because they have other priorities. But thank you for doing that.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say no. Motion passes. The last item for business and operations is the approval of Maple Glen Elementary Camp Tecumseh field trip, which Brian Tom Michael will present.
You sound so enthusiastic.
I mean, we're so excited to hear Camp Tecumseh. I went in 5th grade.
Yep, so Maple Glen Elementary School is asking permission to send their 4th graders to a 2-day field trip to Camp Tecumseh on May 19th and 20th. This trip actually will replace their traditional Corden field trip that they've been taking in the past. I will tell you, as a parent of a Maple Glen 4th grader and a past year 4th grader, I am happy that I chose last year's field trip to supervise, so my wife can enjoy the overnight. So trip costs will be covered by students. The 4th grade team there and just Maple Glen as a whole does a fantastic job of organizing these trips and making them manageable and making sure the kids have fun. So we'd ask that the board approve the overnight field trip for Maple Glen's 4th graders on May 19th and 20th to Camp Tecumseh.
Okay. I hope they come back and teach us a camp song.
You heard it.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Maple Glen Elementary Camp Tecumseh field trip as presented.
So moved.
We'll give Jimmy that one.
We can have it.
All right. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. It's been moved and seconded to approve the Maple Glen Elementary Camp Tecumseh field trip. Is there any discussion or any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion passes. All right. Thank you, Brian. We have enjoyed you this evening. Next, we have Dr. Atha to read the second reading of Batch 9 policies.
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson, members of the board. So Westfield Washington Schools, we are continuing our thorough review of our school board policies with the guidance of our legal counsel, Church hit on Antrim. And I think Mike Hall's still here, so kudos to Mike as he is on the point for that effort, and I just present each month. But we have a new batch that this month, batch 9, that is actually a second read, and so I'll go through those policies that we presented last month and are doing a second read of this month. They are policy G175, which is chemical management and preparedness for toxic hazard. G225, vehicle idling. G400, Title I comparability policy. G450, advertising, publications, and naming rights. G475, prohibition of unmanned aircraft, which is a drone. G500, intellectual property ownership and revenue. G175 is questioning of students, and H200 is relations with special interest groups. So draft copies of these policies were publicly posted on our board docs page last month on September 10th. The district leaders and key personnel in the district have reviewed the policies. We presented them at the board meeting last month. Any questions that arose during the review process were shared with our legal counsel, and then they provided us guidance on any updates we made or legal requirements that need to be retained. And so at this time, the administration is presenting batch 9 for a second reading and recommends approval as presented.
All right. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the batch 9 policies as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Bill. It's been moved and seconded to approve the batch 9 policies. Is there any discussion or any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. All opposed say no. Motion passes. Next, we will have Dr. Atha go over the first reading of batch 10 policies.
That is correct. So batch 10 policies this month are D375, employee discipline. D400, family and medical leaves of absence. D425 is employee benefits. G200, environmental health and safety issues. G250, pest control. G350 is audio, video, and digital recordings on school property and of school meetings. G375 is community use of school facilities. H125 is corporation support organizations, and H225 is public comment and concerns. So draft copies of these policies were publicly posted on board docs page on our website today, October 8th. Also, they were shared with the school board. They've been shared with district leaders and other key personnel to review the policies. And so this month, any questions we get, again, we'll share with our legal counsel and update anything we need to update. And we will prepare for a second reading of these policies next month. Also, just to note, batch 11, the final batch, has just a few, maybe 4 policies in it. And the great thing about policies is they're constantly changing. So also next month, we'll introduce some of the policies that we've approved in the previous batches that need updated already as well. And so thank you also to Stacy Pratt, because she has to stay on top of all of that and get it posted to our website and stay as current as we possibly can, so that we have these amazing policies that help guide our work each and every day.
Oh my goodness. Okay, thank you, Dr. Atha and Stacy. If the board has any questions related to this batch of policies, we'll reach out to you and or Mike Hall. We'll turn it back to Dr. Atha for a curriculum update.
Yep, so we're going to be quick this evening. I do want to note that Dr. Hoover, who's in the audience, so if you have questions, he'd be happy to answer them, met with our CKLA Teacher and Parent Advisory Committee last week. We had 18 people in that group. The group discussed the adoption process for our new reading and our reading series that we're implementing, and what our English Language Arts Committee does as they meet each week and prior to each of the units that our teachers are developing and teaching with our students. So the next meeting, we're having monthly meetings right now. They'll be reviewing materials just as our teachers do with our instructional coaches. And again, it's just an advisory committee, not a decision-making committee, but it's one that we committed to this summer as we adopted these materials, and we have it in place, and they had a great kickoff meeting last week. So Ryan's happy to answer any questions you may have. He has shared some information, but that's the big thing. Got a couple more. New Educator Academy happened today, the second time this year. So they usually fall on the Tuesday of a board meeting after school. And so this month, our new educators are meeting at their levels. So K format, the intermediate school, middle and high school are doing some classroom visits. But the focus is creating positive relationships and the importance of building relationships, not only with your students, but your colleagues and with parents in the learning process. So I want to thank Dr. Hoover and our instructional coaches. That is, the New Educator Academy is something Dr. Kaiser advocated for from the moment he was hired, and we're in year 3, and it's going great. So just wanted to mention that. And then last week and this week, and then into the second week in November schedule, Dr. Chad Dumas, who is our Solution Tree consultant, will spend a day with each of our schools. So he was at 2 schools last week. He's at 4 schools this week, and then the week after we start the second try, he'll be back for the final 4 schools, visit all 10 of our schools, and just meet with their guiding coalition and their teachers around the PLC process, where they are, what questions they have, how he can support. He's also available to them via video conference as he leaves, but he usually gives them some feedback. That is, just so everybody knows, Dr. Dumas, that consulting is paid for through ESSER funds. So this is the last time for him in that capacity. So if we use him going forward, we'll probably use Title II grants or something like that. But he's been a mainstay for us the last 3 years in supporting that work that our teachers do to enhance learning in our classroom. So just want to give a shout out to Dr. Dumas, who's here all of this week.
Okay, thank you, John. Next, we will hear from Josh Andrews with a communication update.
Thank you very much. First off, I want to start off by shouting out Rocks Media House, Sean and Bailey. Last week was homecoming week, and there was a lot of things going on. We were all very busy, and Sean and Bailey were even busier being a part of that and documenting the whole thing, from the spirit days within the high school to all the big events. And if you got a chance to see some of the content that they created, the videos and even the pictures from the rally, the pep rally, the parade, and the game, there's some awesome content that they created, which allows our community to feel even more a part of what we're doing inside the school districts. I wanted to commend Sean and Bailey for their hard work last week. I've been saying pretty regularly that we're having some website updates, and you should be able to see some very big changes. You should see one aesthetic change right now, but there'll be more changes starting at the end of this week. It'll be easier for people to navigate the website, and it'll just be a more welcoming feeling. And I think there'll be a big difference to the way our community and families navigate our websites. Shamrock Academy is this Thursday. There's going to be school safety with Tyler, our SRO, and then school finance with Brian. And I always think that people won't be interested in school finance, but every time we come, Brian has the most questions that anyone ever gets. And I've even given him the breakdown of questions he was already asked by our group. So I think it's going to be a very, well, fun for me to watch, but fun session. And lastly, Shamrock Springs, they have a set of brothers who are on the state gymnastics team. So there's going to be a few media spotlights on them, one on WRTV, perhaps Wish TV, and then a couple of newspaper articles. So that's just something to look out for. It's some of our Rocks doing some great things across the state. Just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Josh. Now I'll ask board members and Dr. Kaiser to share any success stories from the past month.
I'm going to jump in because I forgot something, then I'll let you guys go.
Okay.
But it is a success story.
Great.
As a part of the, Carmen Carnes is our assessment and data specialist, and her team certified from her October 1 count 10,028 students for our official count day. And I think, as Brian said, I think that's 422 students up around. So 10,028 students. But shout out to Kathy Barker on the team there, who Charlotte Hall retired, and Kathy took over. What a team player she was. I'll just quickly describe the process. As you submit that data, you get about 2,000 errors that have to be cleaned up, and you keep going. You have to work through the process. So they began that a couple weeks ago and did amazing work, put in a lot of hours, and Carmen told us today that it was certified. So I just want to shout out to that team, the data team, for getting that done. And we're over 10,000 students.
It's crazy.
If you don't mind, if I could follow up on that real quick too. So with all the students, obviously new staff members, I just wanted to share with the group. I got this data from Debbie today, but shout out to our HR department. We have processed 312 new employee hires for the year. That was as of, we started since April 1st. So 312 new employees. Obviously not all new positions, but new employees. So special thanks to the whole HR department for processing the number of employees that we have from that point till now.
That's awesome. Okay. Want to start success stories, Bill?
Okay, I don't want to steal any thunder. I will say I got the opportunity Friday night to serve as the play clock guy, filled in for Chris, and it went really well, and we won. We beat Avon.
So it was you. Oh.
Yeah, we won, and I didn't screw it up, so that was awesome. And also, whoever was taking pictures for the homecoming parade, those are some pretty awesome pictures. Saw a great picture of you, and a great picture of you, and a great picture of you. That was really great. Great job.
I think your interns as well, right? Weren't they? Yeah, some of those pictures. Yeah,
Wow.
so awesome.
Those are pretty amazing. And then Sunday, I got the opportunity to go and watch my neighbor play on the girls' rugby team. And the highlights, I got to see Amber there and got to watch her son play in the boys' team. And the highlight of the day for me was that the girls beat Carmel girls. So that was a great win, I thought. And then I'll let you talk about the girls' golf if you want. That's it for me.
Yeah, girls golf probably didn't finish like they wanted to, but they did get fourth in the state. I think they had a top 5 placer. I think got third or fourth. Also, Chris Sluter, give him some credit here with Westfield Washington Schools Administrator and the Teachers Union. They got a $10,000 grant through the ISTA Foundation, and I'm going to read this verbatim here. They were awarded $10,000 to use on our proposal, which is to form a low-level mentor program. The idea is to match up teachers with other teachers in the district and help them first-year teachers have someone to bounce ideals off of and everything else. So, Chris, Westfield Washington Schools, you guys did a great job getting that, helping out with everything on that. So, good job, guys.
Okay. A couple weeks ago, we passed out teacher grants to 47 teachers, which was awesome. And then last Friday at the football game, we recognized alumni and had our biggest event thus far, 250-plus alumni come, share a meal, and sit in the end zone. And I think everyone had fun, including Mike. You forgot to talk about it.
I did.
And we got some great pictures of you. So yeah, so that was fun, and everyone was asking when the next event was, and they're like, have these been happening forever? So props to Ashley and Joanne and Kurt and Jaylene for putting it together.
And I think they're gonna have something during basketball season in January or February.
Yeah, January, it'll be homecoming weekend for basketball. Yep.
I think the school district representation at the Chamber Luncheon was a huge success. It really highlighted our students and especially the interns that are doing some great inroads with career-based learning in the community. So great job to everybody that put that together and all the teachers that make those programs work. So, and thanks to the community members that offer those internships, because I think we need maybe a few hundred more. So.
Just some closing comments. Really congratulations to all the fall athletic teams at all levels. They were kind of winding down a little bit on the season. Some are ending, some are still going. Marching band is still going strong, and just, those kids never stop. And as you as a mom, you know that. And, it just goes and goes, and it's so positive. But just a special shout out to all those coaches and parents, and it's truly a team effort. On the academic curriculum side, John, Chris, and Brian and I, and then occasionally Dr. Hoover, we're doing our system-to-system meetings. We'll go around to all 10 buildings, and we ask 2 very simple questions. Tell us your success stories and what we can do to enhance teaching and learning. And we've been to 3 buildings. We learn a lot, and we feed them and make them happy. And then simultaneously, we're meeting with our principals. For example, we met with the principal in Washington Woods today, and we have a process for that. So it's a great opportunity to listen and learn from our teachers and our administrators and our system process on continuous quality and how we get better. So thank you for their hard work and dedication.
That's it. We will have our next board meeting will be held here in this room, November 12th at 6:30. And so can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Mike.